Okay, for the sake of time, those are the dictionaries behind me, all 216 of them, and we're going to have a postum party here. Steve basically printed up, donated by the North Park Lions. You can put them right on the front of all 216. And Chuck's going to make contact with Central. Karen will make contact with Jefferson, and we'll figure out the logistics of all this. So I'm going to be calling upon you to help out with sticking the stickers on, because it's not going to be me and Steve doing all 216 of them. All right, next, our guest speaker. It's my pleasure to introduce an old long-time associate, Chief Hogquist here, who was a judge in our student speakers contest a number of years back, and he's brought one of his more capable henchmen. He's Jordan Marakian, and me and Charlie go back a long time, almost 40 years now, considering I retired 15 of them. When I went to Southeast in the early 80s, I inherited this group of supervisors. I don't think I'd ever seen him before, to tell you the truth. However, yours truly was always befuddled, and it was, thank God I had this kind of a resource. If I was ever going to have a problem, or I needed some explanation, or needed something done, and do it right, he was the go-to guy. Charlie was a San Diego police officer for... How long, Charles? Again? 28 years. Okay, I wrote it down somewhere. Now I can't see it. 5.5 years ago, he saw the light. He's now chief of police of the San Diego Community College. Don't let this mild-mannered exterior fool you. Charlie has a law degree and one in accounting. His dad is also a retired New York City police officer. We won't hold that against him. Anyway, without further ado, it's my distinct pleasure to introduce Jordan and Charlie. They're all yours.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Very good. Well, thanks for being here. I was actually here for the judging contest once, and I also came back in 1988 to talk about planning for the Super Bowl as one of your lunches. So I've been here twice in a long time. It's a pleasure to be here, and Gary wanted me to just talk a little bit about the difference between working for a municipal agency in the district, and I brought Jordan along because Jordan's one of the few people I know who actually planned a career in college, higher education, law enforcement. Most of us, like me, started someplace else and kind of ended up there. But one of the big things and the big differences is this: when I worked for the city's goal is to provide public safety. So the police department and the fire department and other public safety things, you know, we were the priority in the budget. When you go to an institution of higher education, their business is education, and we are on the bottom rung. The former vice chancellor for finance for our whole district used to remind me that I was the rounding error in the district's budget. So it's one of those things that you have to remember. But besides that, you have to do a lot of work. Now, there's a lot of misconceptions about what we do as college law enforcement officers. Now, the first thing I want to do is, there's 3 different types of college law enforcement in the state of California. We have the officers who work at the University of California, the 10 campuses there. There's 23 campuses in the California State University system, like San Diego State. And then we have 57 college districts. And what makes the difference is this: the University of California is in the state constitution. Their officers who work there are just like highway patrol officers. They're state cops. San Diego State, very similar, but they also have a limitation. Their primary responsibility, while they have the power to enforce all the codes, is their areas like a 1-mile radius around their campus, you know, by agreement, law, and other things. When you work for a college district, or even like San Diego Unified District, we are district police officers, and the district for the San Diego Community College District is actually 80% of the city of San Diego. We're actually from Highway 94 all the way up north to the Ted Williams Parkway, from the ocean to the city of La Mesa. And our district is, depending on who you listen to, we're either the 4th or 6th largest in the country. Okay? When you consider all of our programs and campuses, we, every semester, educate 150,000 people. Okay? Our main campuses are City College, Mesa College, and Miramar College. We also have the Educational Cultural Center down on Ocean View Boulevard. And then we have another 6 sites that we have that we call continuing ed. They used to be called adult education. If you leave San Diego, most places adult education is run by the K-12 system, so it's not as robust as ours. When my mom and dad come out to visit from New York, I sign them up for the adult classes, so they take adult recreation classes and stuff. And those are the things we do. So it's very different. Now, when it comes to the jurisdiction of us, we have all the powers of a San Diego police officer and then some. We're authorized by the California Education Code to enforce all the rules of the Education Code. And I was a traffic cop for a long time, and I used to always tell everybody that the Nazis who escaped Germany and went to Paraguay, Uruguay, settled, but most of them settled in Sacramento. And they wrote the California Vehicle Code. And I actually have the first vehicle code that I got when I came on the police department in 1978. It was not that big. Now it's about 4 times larger. Okay? There's a violation of anything. I can tell you right now, I can go out to one of your cars right now and I will find a violation of that code. Okay? So that's how complex that code is. The education code is even worse. And when it comes to community colleges, it controls everything we do. Everything from how much we charge for tuition, how much we charge for parking. There's even a clause in the education code that says we have to have 50% of our faculty has to be full-time. And 50% of our money for our budget has to go to educational purposes. And if you dip below that, they take away your funding and makes it even worse. So it's really an interesting thing. And if you've been reading in the paper about the problems they're having at Southwestern, that's a separate college district, and they have some fiscal issues. We in ours are actually in better shape compared to most, but we're hurting with the cutbacks. I mean, it's sad to say that we had to turn away 20,000 students for the spring semester. Okay, and we're a community college. Okay, we turned away 20,000 people. We had to cut 500 sections of classes. And in this day and age, who trains our firefighters, police officers, and paramedics? The community colleges. Okay, when people need new job skills, where do you go? The community college. If any of you want to learn about computer stuff, our center up on Arrow Drive, they have classes 6 days a week to teach you all the basics of computers, how to get you ready for a new job career. You go down to our center on Ocean View Drive, you want to learn how to weld and be a pipe fitter and all these other things, they do it. We just had to have, we have an RSVP program. If any of you want to be an RSVP in a college campus, I have a flyer and I'll recruit you. That's the Retired Senior Volunteer Patrols.
I'll volunteer.
But we had to have a car painted. We didn't have the money for it, so we brought it down to the continuing ed site, and that became the student project for the semester. So they painted the car for us and did all the detail work and did the engine work. So you have that. This is what's here. And the sad part is most people don't understand the college district or understand what we, as the officers, do. Now, we have the same crime problems. We have the same other issues that you have in the city. And we have a myriad of other things that are a little different. You got to remember, they're cutting back on mental health. So if you're enrolled in school, we have all the mental health issues that we're taking care of all the kids who have problems. And for those of you, I'm not going to offend anybody who's no retired college professors out there, have we? My sister's one too. They think a little bit differently. And Jordan's going to talk a little bit about that, about some of the challenges we make. Remember, as you go through your neighborhoods, those neighborhood watch signs that say, report criminal behavior? We adapted those for our campuses, and I had to change it from saying report criminal behavior to report suspicious behavior. Because these academic people would see something, it didn't look right, but they would have a debate as to whether or not it was a crime and they should pursue it. Okay? But that is the environment that we live and work in. And I don't say this as a disparaging remark. I'm part of the education system. We have to educate them on their role and how to report things. And that's one of the gaps that when I started in the police department in the 70s, I came from New York City where community policing was how you did business. We hadn't gotten to that stage yet. And believe me, I had between a New York accent and having this attitude that it's okay to stop and change some flat tire for some citizen, used to get me in a lot of trouble, as Gary will tell you.
You were always in trouble, Charles.
But you see, that's one of the major differences. The key part, though, for us in our district, our officers, we're there to support the campuses for emergency management. We're there to be part of the campus community. Okay? Even with parking tickets, student can't pay their parking tickets. They come to see us. We'll sign an agreement and let them do community work and pick up trash in the parking lots and pay off their tickets because it's part of the educational process. And that's the key component. The major difference for us in college law enforcement is the educational component. We don't arrest, we arrest people who are a danger to everybody on our campus.